Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's video, I'm sharing inspiration using the Make It Home card kit that is exclusives at Joann.com, made by Hero Arts. So I will be walking you through the kit contents, and one of the things I'm going to be focusing on is the shimmer mist spray that is included in the kit. So here is a quick look at the kit that you will find at Joann.com. Now this is available both online and in the store. And the first thing we're starting off with is the ink pad. You have Blue Hawaii and Pool Party in the Hero Hues Reactive Ink, Frost Shimmer Spray, and some precision glue. Now I just wanted to swipe these ink cubes onto some cardstock to show you what these colors look like. For the Frost Shimmer Spray, you want to make sure you shake this up. It comes in a little spray bottle, and then you can spritz this right on your cardstock. You can do ink smushing, and this has a gorgeous shimmer and shine to it, which is perfect to go with the snowflakes included in the kit. Some other things that are going to be great to create our backgrounds with is some silver embossing powder. We have the Snowflakes and Swirls Fancy Die, one of my favorites. And then this is the hand-drawn snowflake background stamp. Cardstock included in the kit includes some white glitter cardstock, nautical, lapis, and paradise. And you're getting 2 sheets of each cut to 5.5 by 8.5. This is a look at the sheet that is also in the kit. This gives you some great ideas to get started on your cards. There's already 8 of them down at the bottom there. It walks you through the contents of the kit. And then when you flip it over, there are instructions for the card pictured at the top. So it's a great way to kick off this kit. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is create some backgrounds, and I'm using that hand-drawn snowflake background stamp. It's already foam mounted, so I'm using my Misty stamping tool to stamp my backgrounds. I removed the foam insert in my Misty so I could place my stamp down there and pick it up with the door. And then I have some deluxe white cardstock from Hero Arts. I placed some removable adhesive on the back of it, placed it over my background stamp so I can pick out the position or what area of the stamp I want to stamp, and then close the door backwards so that way my cardstock is stuck to the bottom of the Misty. I prepped that cardstock with an anti-static powder tool and then inked it up in some embossing ink, and I'm using my scrubber block to kind of apply pressure to the door of my Misty and stamp that background stamp. Now I did stamp it twice to make sure I have a really good impression because it can be hard to see that embossing ink on white cardstock. Then I'm sprinkling on my silver embossing powder. I'm going to kind of tap my cardstock a little bit, shake off that excess, and then bring that over and melt that embossing powder with my heat tool. And this silver on white cardstock is perfect all in itself. We really don't even have to do anything at that point. You could use that alone for a background. I did want to add some color to it though, so I am taking, now I have the full-size ink pads in the Pool Party and Blue Hawaii, so I'm using that and a blending brush to apply some color. Now that light color Pool Party, I applied in 3 different areas of my background. Then I'm filling in those white spaces with the Blue Hawaii, and I'm going to go back and forth between the two just to help kind of soften that transition between the colors. Now, since our embossing powder resists the ink, I'm just going to brush off that excess ink with just a paper towel. And now one way you can use your shimmer spray is just pouring a little bit onto your work surface, picking it up with a paintbrush, and adding splatters. This makes really, really good splatters. Now, while I have my background stamp in my Misty, I did go ahead and emboss this in silver on that nautical cardstock. I just wanted to show you that because that too is gorgeous all on its own. But I do have one here again on white cardstock, and this time with this particular background, I'm going to spray it with that shimmer spray. And it's so beautiful. It's like a periwinkle color. The lighter you spray, obviously, the lighter the color is going to be. Now that I have a couple backgrounds, I'm going to start putting these together to turn into cards, starting with these snowflakes. So I had done a bunch of die cutting, starting with the snowflakes from white cardstock and that white glitter cardstock. And I took one of the big snowflakes and layered it together to create dimension. I trimmed this panel down to 4 by 5.25, added foam tape and added it to a white card front. And then I'm adding my glitter snowflake over the top, kind of right in the center there with my liquid glue. And now I have these really small sentiments. I love having small sentiments with my snowflakes. Now these are heat embossed in that silver but on nautical cardstock, and I'm adding that small Let It Snow right into the center of the snowflake. The stamp set that I used for that is out of my own collection, and it is the Holiday Sentiment Strips stamp set and the Sentiment Strips Fancy Die. Now my second card is using that background that I spritzed with the shimmer spray, and I trimmed that one down quite a bit so that I have a really nice white border around it. And this one I'm also using some more of those snowflakes and swirls. I almost said squirrels. Swirls that I layered together with white cardstock, and I'm adding this around that small panel before I add it to my card front. What I'm going to end up doing is some of these are going to hang off of the edge. So once I have these all glued down, I'm going to trim off that excess, but I want to save the excess pieces because afterwards I did feel like I was kind of missing something down in that bottom left-hand corner. So I'm going to save one of these pieces and then I can repurpose that and put that down in my corner. So I normally throw out scraps, but when I have things like this that I'm cutting off the edge, I try to save them until I know for sure I'm done with my design. Now, once again, I have some of these sentiment strips, but this time I'm kind of offsetting them so they're not lined up perfectly. And then I'm layering this with my foam tape once again to add to my card front. And I love having that little bit pop of dimension. Now, my third card is going to be using the cardstock out of the kit. I loved all these colors together and I thought it would look really nice having these strips of colors going down the front of the card. So I trimmed a panel down and they're about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm adding a little bit of that liquid glue to the back of it, and instead of going across my cardstock, I'm having these go at a diagonal. I'm going to repeat this color palette twice, and then I'm going to trim off any of the excess. Now I trimmed it off with scissors and I cut my white cardstock so it was crooked. So I had to trim it down a little bit more with my paper trimmer. So this one is about 3 3/4 by 5 inches, and then once again layered onto a white card front that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now I have another snowflake here. I added a foam square just to the center in the back, but I'm also adding liquid glue to that foam because that way I have a little bit of wiggle room when I place that down, and then finished it off with adding one of those small sentiment strips. And there we have it, 3 cards to get you started on that Make It Home card kit that is exclusive at Joann's by Hero Arts. You can find this online or in your local stores if available. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon.